Welcome to the channel, my name is Mageborn, and today I'll be taking a look at Last Epoch made by 11th Hour Games. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking and subscribing. Thanks. Before I begin, I do want to mention that while researching the game for this video, I found that 11th Hour Games, the developers of Last Epoch, have a huge amount of goodwill in the ARPG community. They take feedback on board and fix things for the better. They seem to have a great relationship with their players. The story in Last Epoch, I'm going to be 100% honest here, is a little bit confusing. I've played about 200 hours, I think, of Last Epoch, and I still don't understand the story. There is an interesting time travel mechanic in Last Epoch. During the story, you'll travel between, I believe it's 4 different time frames, going to the distant past and the future, where Void has won and conquered everything. My understanding of the basics of the story is that by travelling through time, we're trying to stop the Void, and the two main enemies, well, the two main enemy factions would be the Void and the Immortal Empire. The Immortal Empire is basically an army of undead, and the Immortal Emperor leads that army. The Immortal Emperor defeated the guards and stole their divinity, which is what powers him and his army. The story of Last Epoch is mainly delivered through main quests and side quests. The side quests flesh out the world, whereas the main quests continue the story. The graphics for Last Epoch are really well done. I remember playing Last Epoch a few years ago and the graphics were a lot worse than they are now. The company behind Last Epoch, 11th Hour Games, have always said they wanted to put gameplay ahead of graphics, but the graphics now are very good. They're a good mix between cartoony and real. Each of the 4 time zones within Last Epoch are clearly defined by their art styles, and you can easily tell which time zone you're in by how the world looks. The character models in Last Epoch have had a good steady progression to make the ones that you see in game now look really good. The animations have always been improved year on year as well, and these look really good now as well, with a very recent addition to these animations in the Convergence update. The skill effects in Last Epoch are really well done, and they've had some recent adjustments with the new Convergence patch and also a patch previously to change some of the druid forms. So some of the skills really stand out from the crowd. The enemy models are well made, and you can clearly tell which enemy you're fighting by the models that they have. There has been another recent addition to these models with the Convergence update, so I expect these to improve as years go on. Last Epoch's combat really gives you the power fantasy of being able to murder hordes of enemies with your skills. These skills are really impactful, and you can feel them hitting the enemies when they do. What I like about Last Epoch's combat is that the hour-to-hour gameplay is pretty simple, just mowing your way through hordes of enemies. However, some of the bosses are a real challenge, and some of the endgame bosses especially are really difficult. And I believe that this is how most ARPGs should be, where you choose when to do the difficult content. The skills in Last Epoch allow the player to have a lot of different combat options, either close range or medium range or even long range. You can use magic or you can use melee abilities. There's a lot of options for the combat, and I think this is great. As you kill enemies within Last Epoch, you'll gain experience that levels you up, When you do level up, you'll receive points that you can spend in your class passive tree. Once you've selected your mastery, the full passive tree unlocks and you gain access to the mastery passive tree also. What's different in Last Epoch compared to a lot of different ARPGs is you also level up the skills you use as you play. As you do, you gain points that you can spend within these skills, and the skills have their own passive trees as well, which you unlock as you level them up. One of the systems that I really like in Last Epoch is the side quests give you passive points. However, you can only unlock a certain number of passive points this way, and there are a lot more side quests than passive point unlocks, which means that you can choose which side quests you want to do. There are 5 main classes in Last Epoch, such as the mage and the rogue. You then have a chance to further unlock these classes with masteries, and there are 15 masteries available within these classes, such as Spellblade, Void Knight and Beastmaster. Last Epoch has an abundance of choice, from the 5 classes to the 15 masteries to the 100 plus skills. You're able to build the character you want to build. This freedom is something that I really like in Last Epoch, and the ability to respec skills whenever you wish is something that I think is really great. There are a number of different endgame activities you can do in Last Epoch. One of them is the Monolith of Fate, which allows you to enter different timelines and do different activities. As you progress within these timelines, you unlock quests that you have to complete. At the end of a quest chain, you'll be able to select a blessing from 6, I believe it is, that allows you to permanently increase something within your character. On one of the timelines I unlocked, I made unique items have a 14% higher drop chance, for instance. The arena is another endgame activity where you face a never-ending battle and face infinite hordes of enemies in the arena, defeating wave after wave of foes until you either choose to dishonor of retreat or die in glorious combat. The dungeon system is another endgame activity. There are a number of different and unique dungeons within Last Epoch. Each dungeon has some unique ability or mechanic that you have to do to be able to complete the dungeon. And at the end of the dungeon, they have unique rewards. For instance, being able to craft legendary items or being able to spend points that you earn to buy unique items. Last Epoch, like most ARPGs, has a colouring system for their items. Whites are normal, blue is magic, yellow is rare, purple is exalted, green is for set items, and then there are legendaries, which is a pinky red colour. The items within Last Epoch can have a number of affixes depending on the rarity of the item. There are over 200 affixes the items can have, and those affixes can have 7 tiers. Last Epoch has a really good crafting system. It's simple to understand, but hard to master. You start off with shards that can drop from monsters, and these can be used to craft different affixes on the items. You also have runes, which can modify the item in different ways, such as removing an undesired affix or re-rolling the values of affixes within the ranges. Glyphs are items that begin used in conjunction with an affix shard or rune to modify the effects of a craft. Idols are a special item within Last Epoch that enables you to alter your characters in certain ways. They are put into your inventory in their own slots, which you need to unlock as you play the game. You can get class-specific idols that will affect your class in specific ways, or you can get ones that just give stats that all classes can use. Unique items are special items that drop within Last Epoch. They have their own stats or effects that can only come on unique items. Unique items are also uncraftable by the normal means. Some unique items will drop with legendary potential. This legendary potential is used at the end of one of the dungeons to be able to craft legendaries. You need a unique item and an exalted item. The exalted item will be melted down and put into the unique item, where stats will be copied over. Depending on your legendary potential will decide how many stats are copied over. If you have 4 legendary potential on your unique, 4 of the stats will be copied over. If you only have 1 legendary potential, then only 1 stat will be copied over and it will be chosen at random. This legendary potential is one of the best ways to make the best items within Last Epoch. I really enjoyed playing Last Epoch. I think the combat is fun. The bosses can be challenging when you want to do challenging content. The dungeons are great. The endgame content is some of the best endgame content I've played in ARPG. The build options in Last Epoch are really good. There is a lot of freedom to build what you want to build within Last Epoch. The crafting is really good. It's pretty simple to understand, so anyone can just pick it up and change their items however they want, which is something that I really, really like. One thing that I think Last Epoch does really well is a clear path of progression. You know exactly what you need to do to make your character better. You know what activities you need to do. You know what endgame activities you need to do. You know which bosses you need to learn to fight. You know which dungeons you need to complete. It's very clear how you can make your character better within Last Epoch. The campaign of Last Epoch is probably its weakest point. As I said earlier in the video, I didn't really understand the story at all. I would just go to places I had quests and complete them. However, saying that, the leveling experience is laid back and chill, and again, that's something I much prefer. I don't think there should be difficult content within the leveling experience. I think that should all be saved for endgame activities. One thing that Last Epoch didn't have until recently was multiplayer, and I know a lot of people want this in an ARPG. I haven't experienced the multiplayer myself yet, so I can't really comment on if I found it good or not, but I have seen a lot of people talking about it online and enjoying it so far. So now to answer the question, is Last Epoch the best ARPG ever? Well, within the 3 games currently in this series, it is the best of the 3. I would put it in the A tier, but only just above B tier. It needs more constant updates to bring players back on a regular basis to be any higher. I will revisit this down the line, but currently it's in A tier and it is currently the best ARPG out of the 3 I've tried. Thanks for watching, and if there is an ARPG you would like me to take a look at, leave it in the comments below. Thanks.